It was a typical Tuesday in Atlanta when David Rodriguez, an Uber driver for 3 years, took another routine ride. Destination, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Passenger, a middle-aged woman with a small purse. Nothing out of the ordinary, or so he thought. But what happened over the next 20 minutes would make David question everything he thought he knew about life. If you've ever wondered if fate exists or if everything is just coincidence, this story will make you completely rethink that question. What if I told you that a simple glance in the rearview mirror could reveal secrets that change lives forever? David was in the middle of another night shift. A 38-year-old father of 3, he drove to supplement his income at the auto repair shop. The economy wasn't easy, and every ride mattered. When the app pinged at 11:15 p.m., he accepted without hesitation. The passenger climbed into the back seat silently. Gray hair tied in a simple bun, dark clothes, and an expression Marcus would later describe as laden with sadness. She simply murmured, "Airport, please," and settled back into the seat, staring out the window. For the first 10 minutes, silence reigned in the car. David tried a few attempts at polite conversation, comments about the traffic, the weather, but she responded only with monosyllables. He turned the radio down low and concentrated on driving. But then something extraordinary happened. It was at the Peachtree Street traffic light that David casually glanced in the rearview mirror. What he saw made his heart race. The passenger was holding an old photo, yellowed at the edges, and was crying silently. But it wasn't just any photo. It was a black and white image of a young soldier, and even in the dim light of the car, David could see something that completely shocked him. The soldier in the photo was practically identical to his own grandfather, who had served in the Korean War. David felt a shiver run down his spine. Could it be? He glanced in the rearview mirror again, this time more closely. The woman continued to gaze at the photograph, completely absorbed in her memories. "Sorry to intrude," David said, his voice shaking slightly, "but can I ask about this photo?" The woman looked up, tears still streaming down her face. "He's my brother," she replied, her voice breaking. "Robert Santos. He never came back from the war." David felt as if the world had stopped. Robert Santos. The same name engraved on the headstone he visited every Veterans Day. The same name his grandmother whispered longingly until the day she died. Hands shaking on the steering wheel. David pulled the car over to the shoulder. "Ma'am," he said, turning fully to face her, "what was your mother's maiden name?" The question seemed strange, but something in David's tone made the woman answer, "Garcia. Elena Garcia." David's world was turned upside down. Elena Garcia was his great-grandmother. The woman in the back seat wasn't just a random passenger. She was his great-aunt, Carmen, the younger sister of his grandfather Robert, who had been declared killed in action in Korea in 1953. "My name is David Rodriguez," he said, his voice now thick with emotion. "I'm Robert Santos's grandson." Carmen dropped the photo into her lap. For a moment, the silence in the car was absolute. Then, as if a dam had broken, the words began to flow. Carmen had spent her entire life searching for her brother's family. She knew Robert had married before leaving for the war, but lost contact with him after news of his death. She had moved to Atlanta in the 1960s and never stopped searching for clues about possible great-nieces or nephews. "I was leaving," she said, wiping away tears. "Finally giving up. The flight was to Phoenix, where I'm going to live with my daughter. I thought I'd never see you." David felt a wave of emotion wash over him. Not only had he found a relative he hadn't even known existed, but it was he, through the most unlikely of encounters, who had been able to piece together the lost pieces of his family's history. They spent the next 2 hours at a cafe near the airport, sharing stories, photos on Marcus's phone showing his children, and Dorothy sharing memories of the brother Marcus had only known through their grandmother's stories. Dorothy canceled the flight. Marcus called his wife, woke the children, and for the first time in 60 years, the Mitchell-Thompson family was complete again. "Do you believe in fate?" Dorothy asked Marcus as they were saying goodbye that morning. Marcus looked up at the starry sky and smiled. "I didn't believe it," he replied. "But after tonight, how could I not? This true story reminds us of something powerful. We never know what extraordinary connections are waiting to be discovered in the most ordinary moments of our lives. Marcus could have ignored the photo, Dorothy could have hidden her tears, and two lives would have gone their separate ways forever. But instead, a simple glance in the rearview mirror created a bridge between generations, healed old wounds, and proved that even in the most unlikely coincidences, there is a greater purpose at work. The next time you're in a seemingly ordinary situation, in an Uber, in a grocery store line, waiting for an elevator, remember the story of Marcus and Dorothy. Pay attention to the details, be kind to strangers, and keep your heart open to possibilities. Because you never know when a simple look, a curious question, or a moment of courage might reveal the connection you didn't even know you were looking for. If this story touched your heart as it did mine, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more true stories that will restore your faith in the magic of human connection. And tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a life-changing coincidence? We want to hear your story.